The term Antichrist could be used both as a reference to Satan in the flesh, or a reference to a person who has had imparted to him a bit of Satan himself. Those who have become Antichrists have a conscious connection to both their guardian angel and their guardian demon. This ritual can test the limits of one's sanity and can even induce insanity. Being joined with and having conscious control of both of your guardian spirits is often symbolized by the colors white and black in close proximity. The two pillars, the checkerboard patterns, and similar arrangements represent the perfect spiritual being, humanity deified. The two trees from the Garden of Eden represent the celestial Sephiroth and the infernal Sephiroth. In the east lies the tree of life, and in the west lies the tree of knowledge. In replacement of white and black, union of the angelic and the infernal may also be symbolized by the concepts of east and west, east being the divine direction, while west is the infernal direction. A double-headed eagle, looking left and right, is an example of this. It also happens that satanic rituals are often oriented towards the west. The angelic counterpart, and the angelic race in general, is often symbolized by the sun, which represents the masculine principle of life. The demonic counterpart, and the demon race in general, is associated with the moon and the feminine principle of life. So naturally, an androgynous or hermaphroditic figure, like that of Baphomet, is used to symbolize a perfected human. The Sabbat is a gathering of witches, warlocks, demons, and in the earthly Sabbat, even humans. There are generally two types of gatherings that are called Sabbats, the celestial Sabbat and the infernal Sabbat. Even though sorcerers are always congregating in their astral bodies, there are 4 major meetings a year, and these meetings are called Sabbats. The celestial Sabbat is a gathering of astral beings in a place called and associated with the sphere of Saturn. It is also worth noting that Shabbatai is Saturn in Hebrew. It is likely that the words Sabbat and Sabbath derive from the Hebrew word Shabbatai. Further, Jews and Seventh-day Adventists consider Saturday, the day associated with Saturn, to be the true day of Sabbath, as opposed to most Christians who worship on Sunday. In truth, it is Sunday, and the sun in general, which is more closely associated with Jesus and goodness, whereas Saturn is more associated with Satan, death, and evil. The infernal Sabbat is a gathering that happens here on earth, but most who attend arrive in an astral body. This earthly Sabbat, sometimes called the Black Sabbath, usually occurs in remote and secluded places. It is sometimes the case with the earthly Sabbat that those who attend arrive in their fleshly bodies. Most vampires who arrive to the Sabbat do not arrive in the flesh, but instead in an astral, quote-unquote, God form. A God form is an astral body that has been temporarily converted into that of an ancient god or animal. God forms are archetypal forms whose image is predetermined. God forms must be used with caution, however, as the nature of the magician will slowly be consumed by the nature of the ancient god or animal frequently invoked. The field of astral energy that changes one's appearance is called glamour. The Sabbats are a celebration of all that is wicked and unholy, allowing these sorcerers to indulge in things they cannot in their day lives. Their day life being a suit and tie government job, for instance. It is a massive gathering of demons and humans who have come to fornicate and make merry with each other. Many of the stories and accounts of what occurs at the Sabbat comes from modern-day satanic texts, and from the records of the witch trials and inquisitions of the Middle Ages. Despite the fact that there were many forced confessions, the attending witches told an extremely consistent story regarding the details of the Sabbat. The earthly Sabbat tends to be held in secluded places, such as fields, abandoned buildings, atop mountains, and mostly at midnight. The area is littered with demons and humans having sex in the most lascivious ways. In the center of the festivities, a large fire and a presiding devil. This devil, called the Black Man of the Sabbat, is usually described as looking like the pagan god Baphomet. Modern-day Satanists have further solidified this connection to such the extent that I've become certain that they are in fact one and the same. Their description was that of a large, stinking goat figure with 3 horns, where the center horn was lit with a flame like a torch. This flaming center horn was often used to ignite other things at the festivities, such as candles and torches. Also, the being's quote-unquote male member was exposed and was reported to be nearly 3 feet long, with the thickness of a child's arm. Baphomet often takes the most beautiful girl for himself, and for this unlucky woman, the intercourse is most painful and never produced pregnancy. His semen, which is ice cold and spoiled, is allegedly not his own, but was taken from elsewhere. This character often engaged the women in anal sex afterwards. Women in general play a more active role at the Sabbat. Sitting beside the presiding demon is often a choice, high-ranking witch. Baphomet is said to have 2 faces, one on his head and the other on his posterior. This being had the tail of a goat, and the face on his rear was also said to be that of a goat. The attendees of the Sabbat bring new meaning to the term ass-kisser, as they are largely forced to kiss the stinking, demonic face on Baphomet's rear end. Only the high-ranking witches and warlocks may kiss the goat head itself. The act of kissing the anus of Baphomet is symbolic of corruption. Because of his 2 faces, this Baphomet character is often equated with Janus, the Roman god of gates and time. The face on the devil's posterior is said to be without the power of speech and maintains a demonic expression. Sometimes, Baphomet will arrive as an extremely pale man whose flesh is ice cold and wasted, hanging off of its bones. This personage's eyes were large and jet black. Another god form Baphomet may arrive as was that of the size and shape of a tree trunk with a human face. This being has no arms or legs, was jet black, and upon this face was the expression of a frightful man. Still others described him as a black man with Caucasian features, whose eyes burned like hot coals and was enveloped in a misty cloud. Coinciding with Baphomet's hermaphroditic and androgynous nature, this being is said to act quite flamboyantly. Baphomet is sometimes directly responsible for transporting some of the favored attendees to the Sabbat. He arrives at their homes and instantly transports them through the air to the location at the Sabbat. Sometimes this devil would give witches ointments to smear on their body, and this they used to transport themselves to the Sabbat. Like the popular conception of the witch riding a broomstick, some witches do attend the Sabbat riding a magical stick placed between their legs.